Sorry, mate.
You know,
Something that you don't really put in
No,
practice.
you said that I can trust the Bible to a certain extent.
So,
No, I don't.
so you don't believe it's trustworthy,
I don't believe it's trustworthy.
right? Do
But
you
I
quote
use-
it?
But there's no.
Do you quote it?
I quoted. You know why?
Is that the point that you were saying? He was
You know
saying
why
that
I
he
quote
can
it?
quote the Bible.
Because the Quran
Right.
allows me to.
Right.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows
So
me to.
so
If there's
show
no problem,
me
there's some remnants
so
of truth,
show
there's no
me
problem.
so show me where the Quran identifies which parts of the Bible you can quote and which parts you
I
can't.
already said it. Surah 5 verse 48.
So go on, let's
So the
pull that
Quran-
out. So let's
the
pull that out.
Quran-
Let's pull that out. Yeah, let's pull that out.
Muhammad is a guardian. Is like a sort of quality control over the previous scriptures.
No,
There's no problem.
that's a claim. That's a statement. I asked you for a method.
Bob.
No.
Bob,
You've made a statement.
I'm coming from a Muslim
I'm asking you for a method.
Wait,
listen to my request.
No, you're not getting the point.
I
think you are getting the point.
My request is very simple. Show me in the Quran where the Quran allows you to identify which verses you can quote and which verses you can't quote.
Yeah, so Abdullah bin Salam,
Go on.
may Allah be pleased with him. He was the Jewish rabbi of Medina. He accepted Islam because he found a prophecy about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their book, the Torah.
So
Khalas.
that's not the
Khalas.
Quran then.
Khalas.
That's not the Quran.
And
That's
even
just
the
some
Quran in
misguided
Surah 5,
rabbi.
ayah 48.
That's
And our
just some
religion is not
misguided
the
rabbi.
Quran. Our religion is all the ahadith, the sayings and the actions of the Prophet Muhammad, the authentic sayings.
So what I'm hearing is you don't have
So I'm not
any
Quranist.
criteria in the Quran or any criteria that you can use to identify which verses in the Bible you can quote.
Okay, for example, let me give you an example.
Yeah, I'd like an example.
Let me give an example.
But let's be clear about what example I'm looking for.
Let me give you an
No.
example.
Let's be clear about what example I'm looking for. Show me in the Quran where it identifies to you what verses from the Bible you can use.
Yes.
That's the example that I'm looking
Okay,
for,
very good,
not
right,
some
very simple.
random example.
Very simple.
Go on.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his blessed book in the Quran
Yeah, go on.
that
Which
Jesus peace be
surah?
upon him said.
Which
I think
surah?
it's Surah 5. I'm not sure the exact verse. I think verse 72 to 73. I'm not sure.
Of
that
which
Jesus
surah?
peace be upon him said, Ya Bani Israel, O children of Israel, worship Allah who is my Lord and your Lord. What did Jesus say in the Gospel of John chapter 20 verse 17? What did
Okay.
he say? He said, go and tell your brothers that I am not yet ascended to my Father and I'm going to my God and your God.
Right, so
simple.
no, hold on one second. Hold on one
simple.
second.
End of
The
discussion.
verse,
End of
no,
discussion.
that's you running away.
Oh, me running away?
Yes, let's go to the actual verse.
Yeah.
Let's go to the verse and let's see that it doesn't say any biblical verse. Let's
I say
demonstrate
biblical,
that.
I'm saying the biblical.
Can we go to the Quranic verse, please?
I did.
Right,
I
no,
did.
hold on one.
Chapter 5, verse 17.
Chapter 5.
Verse 72.
Yeah. Don't, you know, it's all right. I mean, I know you've drank coffee and I know how that
it's hot
impacts
chocolate.
people. Fair enough. Still got caffeine in.
Yeah.
Okay, it's all that sugar, I believe you,
Good.
Right, so what surah, please?
Surah Ma'idah, Surah 5, Ayah 72.
Ayah 72.
I think so.
Right, O children of Israel, worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord.
Good.
Whoever joins other gods with Allah, Allah will forbid him the garden and the fire will be his abode.
Yes.
There will, for the wrongdoers, be no one to help.
Yeah.
Those are the words of Jesus, right?
No. Only the first part. Worship Allah.
Only,
my Lord and your
only.
Lord.
O children of Israel, worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord. Okay.
can we
Now
find
one
this-
second.
now, can we
Now
find this in
show
the
me.
Bible?
Yeah. Now show me a verse in the Bible where Jesus says, worship Allah.
Did I say worship Allah?
No, Jesus
I
did
said
according
God-
to the Quran.
I said God has a God.
No.
God said,
No.
my God and your God.
That's what. No. Hold on one second. We're trying to identify from
so
the
you want
Quran.
literal reading?
What?
You
Yeah,
want literal
but
words?
that's the point.
No, that's not
One
the point.
second. One second.
Okay, wait.
One second.
Wait. No, I'm going to stop
Let-
there.
let's be clear.
For example, the first commandment.
Can you show me where Jesus says worship
For
Allah?
example, I said the true worshippers are those who worship the Father.
Can you show the
John
Father?
chapter five.
Does the Quran? Does the Jesus of the Quran ever call
By the way,
Allah Father?
By the way, let me make.
Do you see my point?
No.
He sees it.
Let me make this very
Did
clear.
you? No, he won't see it. Did you see my point?
Arab Christians,
Sorry, I didn't,
Do you know
miss that.
Arab Christians say Allah?
Right.
Do you know that?
One
Do
second.
you know that?
One
You
second.
do know that?
In the Quran, Jesus says worship Allah. Show me in the Bible where Jesus says worship Allah or where he says worship Father. Or alternatively, show me a verse in the Quran where Jesus refers to Allah as the Father.
Right, hang on.
Go on, show me. Show me.
Hang on.
Show me. You made the claim. Show me.
Let me make this very clear.
He's going to waffle now.
Chapter 5, verse 72. In the Bible, John 20:17. Okay. By the way, look, it's very simple. Look, I'm going to end the discussion here. It's so simple. He's like a literalist, basically. He wants a literal translation. By the way, even in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Right, which verse of
he
the
says-
Bible we're going to?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says,
Hold
Allah
on
has
to my
not begotten a
Quran,
son.
don't share it with anyone.
It's
Like,
very
keep on, good
simple,
grip of it.
right? This is your corpus. This is your Bible. Your Bible says
Right.
the Father, the Son.
So you're gonna-
God doesn't say
you're-
that.
you're gonna
What I'm
show
telling
me-
you- What I'm telling you is very simple, which is there are some remnants of truth that is confirmed in the Bible, and we use the Quran for that.
And what I'm saying to you is, what is your criteria
My
for
criteria is the Quran.
identifying?
My criteria is the Quran.
Right, so now we're going to see if your method stacks up to criticism. We're testing your method.
What, testing my method.
Yes, we're testing the Quranic method, your method, to see if it
Why-
stands up to
hang on, why don't
criticism.
you- okay, have you read the Quran into totality?
Right, so this
Wait.
verse in the Quran,
Yeah.
which verse in the Bible corresponds to it?
Hadith corresponds.
Go
You
on.
don't want identical.
No, what I
You know
want,
we Muslims don't believe.
I want you to show me-
Wait. You do
Well, I
know
want
what-
you to show me-
I'm telling you, very simple.
which verse in the Bible would you like to go to?
Wait, hang on. Did I ever say I can trust the Bible? Did I ever say that?
Yes, you said
No,
that
I
you
didn't.
can use the
I
Quran
never
to
said that.
identify truths
Wait,
in the Bible.
So this is what you call red herring. Red
This-
herring.
this is-
Yeah, he's putting words
This,
into my
this
mouth.
is what
and
you
I never
call.
said I
This
trust
is
the Bible.
this is what you
Did I
call.
ever say that?
This is why this is called
Did I ever
running.
say I trust the Bible?
Why are you delaying?
say that.
You literally
No,
went
no,
about
no.
proving it.
I'm gonna-
You
no,
even asked
I'm
him
gonna-
to look up a Bible
I'm going
verse.
to end the discussion. I'm going to end the discussion.
Oh, he's
here.
running now.
No, I'm not.
He's
I'm gonna
running
end
round.
the discussion here. Because you're putting your words into my mouth. I never said trust the Bible. Did I
No,
say that?
no, we
Did I
never
say
said that.
Did I say
You
that?
said,
Did I say
you
that?
said,
Did I say that?
you said
I said-
that this
I
book
said- I said-
allows you to identify
Yes.
truths from this book.
Yes.
So you quoted this passage in which Jesus said,
Bob.
worship Allah.
Bob.
So show me in the Bible where Jesus said, worship Allah.
Bob, you do know Arab Christians call Allah.
Show me in the Bible.
No, I'm saying Arab Christians call Allah.
Yes, that's fine.
What language
That's
did Jesus
fine.
speak? What language
That-
did Jesus speak?
He spoke Aramaic and he also
Spoke
spoke
Aramaic. And
Greek.
what's that? What's that in God?
Yeah.
Allah.
No, no. Does Jesus say Allah? Does he say worship Allah? No. He's running. He's running. He's running.
Where are you going?
He's
man?
running.
Speak to a fool.
He's running. He's running. There we go. Bye. Bye. He's running. Because what does the Quran actually say? These are the words that the Quran puts into a 7th century Jewish prophet. Worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord.
Yeah.
Whoever joins other gods with Allah, Allah will forbid him the garden and the fire. Show me in the Bible where Jesus says worship Allah. He says worship the Father. Where does the Quran say worship the Father? Where are those words put into Jesus' mouth, Michael? I know.
How can
So guys, what we see is that Muslims have this rhetoric. This rhetoric is that this book is a guardian over this book, and that this book allows you to identify what's true and false from this book. But the reality is, as we just saw, when you test that argument and you ask them to show the methodology that they use to identify which parts of this book can be trusted, they don't have any methodology that stands up to scrutiny. Now, he did try initially to show a passage. He quoted Surah 5:72. O children of Israel, worship Allah, my Lord and your Lord. So in other words, we should find a verse in the Bible that teaches something about Allah. That we should worship Allah. But we find no such verse. So what other verse can he point to in the Quran to identify verses from the Bible that Muslims can use? Because Muslims claim that there are some verses from the Bible that you can use, but the Quran doesn't give them any tools to recognize which verses they are. Though it's supposed to be a guardian over the other books. And so what we've got is a Muslim argument that has no teeth. And they're simply relying on you to be ignorant and to not question or interrogate what they're saying. So are there any other Muslims that want to try to complete the argument that he ran from? No, none. I didn't think so. So in other words, when this book claims to be a guardian over this book, it gives no evidence. So you're going to show me Luca then?
What was the question?
So, Muslims like you claim that this book is a guardian over this book,
Right.
and that the Muslim that ran from this debate was saying that he could quote from the Bible because the Quran allows him to identify what parts of the Bible can be trusted and what parts can't. And you agree with that, right?
I do, yeah.
Brilliant. Show me in the Quran where it identifies what parts of the Bible you can use.
So you're asking me to identify where it says in the Quran what bits of the Bible you can believe in, what bits you can't.
Yes.
Well, that's a very broad question. Could you be a bit more specific?
Well, it's a very... Muslims quote the Bible,
Right. Yeah.
right? And they justify quoting the Bible because they believe that some parts of the Bible can be trusted.
Right.
So they quote some parts of the Bible as supposed prophecies of Muhammad.
Right.
And they quote other parts of the Bible because they feel it corresponds to their beliefs about Allah.
Right.
Right? But my question to you is, where does the Quran give you any methodology or any intellectual resources to identify which verses speak about Muhammad? So for instance, it says there are prophecies of Muhammad in the Bible,
Okay.
in the Injil.
Right.
Right, so show me in the Quran where it identifies in the Injil a prophecy of Muhammad.
Well, it says that in the Quran that it's the criterion, so
Right.
by which you judge the other books.
Yeah.
Right? So if you read the Quran in its totality, you would then be able to judge which parts of the Bible are true and which parts are not.
So show me any verse in the Quran where it gives you a criterion to use to read from the Bible.
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Do you know why you can't? Because it isn't there.
Okay, wait, sorry, it does. So it says that the crucifixion of Jesus didn't happen. for
Right,
example.
so there you go. So the
Okay, the Bible says the crucifixion.
the argument is that the Quran says that there isn't a crucifixion in the Bible, that Christ wasn't crucified.
Right.
Well, the Bible clearly teaches that Christ was crucified.
It's telling you that bit's wrong.
So hold on one second. Hold on one second. I literally, just a few minutes ago, was speaking to a Muslim, a Quranist-only Muslim, who says that the Quran teaches that Christ was crucified.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, and now I agree with you. I don't agree with him.
Thank you.
But the point is, that doesn't give you a criterion to tell you which verses of the Bible you can quote.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
It tells
It
you
doesn't tell you which verses of the Bible you can quote.
the ones that say that. Well,
What does it go on? Go on.
Well, it
the bits of the Bible that says Christ wasn't crucified?
it tells you that Christ wasn't crucified. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but that's not the question I've asked you.
Okay.
The question that I've asked you, Luca, is that
Yeah.
Muslims make this claim. They say that they are justified in quoting the Bible because the Quran is the guardian of the Bible, and therefore they can identify trustworthy parts of the Bible to quote.
Okay, wait, I can answer that.
So where in the Quran does it give you the tools to identify the true bits from the false bits?
Right, so there is, I might be wrong about this, but as far as I know, there's a thing in Sharia law where it says that if something hasn't specifically been said that it's haram, then it's halal. So as far as I'm concerned, the Bible is quote-unquote halal in the sense that whatever doesn't directly contradict the Quran is true.
Can we look at that verse that you quoted?
That's not a verse from the Quran.
Well, it's a verse from the Hadiths.
Well, but it's a legal sort of principle. If
It's a
something's not
legal principle.
specifically
So
haram,
again, that wasn't my question. Because my question is, where does the Quran give you the resources to identify which parts of the Bible you can use? Because I'm not interested in some scholar's opinion that came hundreds of years after the Quran. What I'm interested in is where Allah the Almighty tells you, here's a methodology for you to identify which parts of the Bible you can quote and which parts of the Bible you can't quote.
Yeah.
Can you provide that? Because that's what I'm asking.
Right, well,
It's you can, Luca, just say you don't and you can't.
No. So I've answered your question.
You
So
haven't.
The Quran itself, in its totality, is the criterion by which you judge.
Right. So
what's true and what's not.
in other words, what I'm hearing is there is no methodology given in the Quran.
No, the Quran itself is the methodology.
So right. So show me, for instance, quote a verse from the Bible, any verse from the Bible you want,
Okay.
right? and then use the Quran to justify that quotation.
Okay, so the
Which
Bible,
verse of the Bible do you want to quote first?
I mean, let's say Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
Okay, let's go to that. Yeah, Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Right. Now, show me that the Quran allows you to quote Deuteronomy 6:4.
And say that it's true.
Well, the Quran says La ilaha illallah. There's no God but Allah. So that
Right.
would
Does Deuteronomy 6:4 say Allah?
it would say El Elohim, which is
Which
a
is not
cognates
Allah.
Of Allah.
No, it isn't.
They come from the same roots.
So it doesn't say Allah. Do you know
Allah
that?
means
Do
God.
you know?
Did
Do
you
you
not-
wait
did
one
you
second?
not- did
Do you
you
know?
not
Do
know that?
you know? Do you know that Echad is a compound unity?
What does that mean?
So you know in the Hebrew where it says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God, the Lord is one."
Yeah.
The word "one" there is Echad.
Yeah.
It means a compound. It's a compound unity.
Yeah.
Is Allah a compound unity?
He's one. No. So he's
Right. So he's not a compound unity, but the
Wait,
Bible
hold
is
on.
talking about a compound unity.
Well, there are two words. There's Wahid and there's Ahad. So I think they both mean one or single. I'm not sure whether they mean a compound unity.
So
Whatever that
what is so I'll give you an example of a compound unity.
Okay.
In Genesis, it says that a husband shall leave his family and join unto his wife, and the two shall become Echad flesh, one flesh. That's an example of a compound unity. So that those two become one in the marriage. That's a compound unity. So now I've defined for you a compound unity and shown you biblically where the word Echad is used to describe a compound unity in another place in Genesis. And Deuteronomy 6:4 uses the word Echad. Are you asserting that Allah is a compound unity?
Well, you're not a Hebrew linguist, so I'm not going to take your word on what Ahad means.
That doesn't matter. It does
Yes,
not
it
matter
does,
to me.
because-
My argument is still there.
No, you're arguing from a false premise that Ahad means a compound unity, whatever that means, which you've not provided me any evidence that it means that.
Right, so doing the thought experiment, if it is and does turn out to be a compound unity,
I'm not gonna-
are
I
you
don't
saying
deal
that
with
Allah is a compound unity?
I don't deal with hypotheticals, Bob. I deal with the truth, which is
Well-
the Quran fundamentally corrects the errors of the Bible.
But that's still not the point of the debate. Don't try and change the debate.
It is, 'cause you
The
asked me-
criteria is what I've not seen is a criteria. Your first attempt doesn't justify the use of Deuteronomy. Because what Deuteronomy is teaching and what Islam is teaching are not the same thing.
So, so when you say God is a compound unity, what does that mean? That he's a Trinity?
It's certainly one of the. It's certainly part of what paints the picture of the Trinity in the Bible. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, on that alone, it doesn't. It doesn't capture the Trinity in that one verse. But that one verse is one of the verses that we Christians go to demonstrate that God is a Trinity.
Okay.
To build the picture of the Trinity. Now, I'm gonna just show. Bear with me. I want to see if I can show to you. Deuteronomy 6:4 is a compound unity.
Okay.
No, Dad.
Someone's dropped their ticket.
That's why I say God. But he's saying they believe in multiple, a compound. No, I said that word.
Right, bear with us.
What do you God in the way that
So my point to you is, and this is the point that I'm not going to move from,
Okay.
is that Muslims are quoting the Bible,
Yeah.
and yet they have no criterion to guide them in their use of the Bible, other than ad hoc, improvised, and opportunistic quotations.
Not really. I've just told you that the Quran is the criterion by which you judge the
basic
Bible.
of the God they believe.
All right, bear with
I don't
us.
see why that's ad hoc.
Right, so Deuteronomy 6:4, our Yahweh Israel. So here, Israel, Yahweh, our God, Yahweh is one.
Yeah.
The word there for one or is one is Echad.
Right.
Okay, they got it there. You see it?
Yeah.
Echad. There's the Hebrew right there. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Echad, an adjective. Echad, one, a numerical from Akkad, properly united. i.e. one or as an ordinal first.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a compound unity.
United. So that would suggest that God was separate and then he somehow became united. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
No, that's the idea of.
So it's saying God is a composite of different.
No, it's a
parts.
it's a compound unity.
Compound unity.
Echad, and I've just that's what we're
So
talking
in other
about.
words, you're saying that at a time there was more than one God, and
No.
God sort of united.
No, not
into-
at all.
Well, that's-
No, and you're changing the subject.
No, I'm not changing.
You're changing the subject.
I've got
So have you got a right? I'm going to give you one more attempt, and then I'm just going to stop,
I'll
Luca.
take as many attempts as I want.
You can try, but I'm going to give you
You're
one
losing the
more.
debate.
No, honestly, Luca, honestly, I'm not.
Honestly, what?
So here's one more attempt. One more attempt.
Go
Can
on.
you show me in the Quran a criteria to justify the use of this passage?
Of Deuteronomy 6:4.
Yes.
Because the Quran says that God is one, and that's what
Right.
Deuteronomy
So
6:4 says.
Echad says, but Deuteronomy 6:4 says God is a compound unity.
No, it doesn't. That's
Look, I've just literally
what the word
demonstrated
means.
Echad.
Yeah.
Origin, a numerical from Akkad, properly united. In other words, a compound unity.
right. But what you're quoting there is
In
not
the same
from
way
the
as-
Bible.
It's a lexicon
just-
on
exactly,
Hebrew,
exactly.
biblical
So it's not the
Hebrew.
Bible, is it, Bob?
So in other words, so you
You're
don't,
referring
because the
to
scholarship doesn't work in your
secondary sources.
favour,
referring to
you
the-
want to
Let's
reject
stick with
it.
primary sources, Bob.
So,
Let's talk about the Quran and the Bible.
Do you
Let's not talk
have
about
do you
what the
have
lexicon says.
do you have a criteria in the Quran?
I've told you that the Quran itself is the criteria.
But what you've done is you've and this is what Muslims always do.
Every Jew knows
This is what Muslims always do. It's opportunistic.
Let's stick with.
It's ad hoc.
Let's stick with the Quran and the
It's
Bible. Bob.
opportunistic, it's ad hoc, and it's improvised quotations of the Bible. So, in other words, it's whichever verse they can get away with manipulating and using.
Are you talking to a mirror?
It's all right. If the guy's not well, everyone should be able to see that. Leave him alone.
No.
He's
I'm just
not
making
well.
fun of
No,
you.
he's
like,
not
on
well.
the camera. Like post after
You've
this.
got to be able to spot mental illness.
Speak to me.
You've got to be
Speak
able to
to
spot
me.
mental illness.
You.
Leave him alone.
Speak-
Leave him alone. No. Leave him alone. He's just not well. He's just not well. He's just not well. He's just not well. So, guys, guys, you don't bully people. You don't bully. You don't bully people who are already right. So my point is, so it's opportunistic. It's opportunistic. It's ad hoc and it's improvised. They jump to Deuteronomy 6:4, not because the Quran gives them any criterion to, but simply because
How are you?
it's
What do you believe?
convenient, and they do it because they feel that they can get away with it. But as you can see, when we challenge them to justify
How are
which
you?
verses they leap to, we recognize that the Quran gives them no tools to identify those verses, none whatsoever. Now, Luca has failed on his first
La
attempt.
ilaha illallah.
Have you got a second?
brother.
Have you got another thing you'd like to go to?
You give me something, and I'll.
I say my word.
Right. So, okay, Luca, I'm here training some people.
Yeah.
It's lovely talking to you.
Thank you for
Have a
allowing
good
me
day.
to beat you in a debate, Bob. I really enjoyed it.
If that is what helps your ego, my friend, you go ahead and believe
my
that.
ego, it's about
You're
the
the one
truth.
with
That's
the.
what
You're the
helps
one
your
with the
ego.
lemon
You go
camera
ahead.
on
You go ahead and believe that. How you doing, bro?
What's up, Bob?
I'm good, thank you. Is your friend here? Do you want to talk, bro? Are you? Yeah. Are you wanting to talk now, or do you want to talk later? Okay. So you make sure that you're next to me from about 4:30 onwards today, and then we'll go and talk in private. Yeah. But you come and find me at 4:30. 4:30. Yeah. All right. Come and find us at 4:30.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah. I mean, as I'm here with some guys that I'm attempting to support, who are doing a bit of training.
This guy's
No,
no, because you're gonna block the camera.
Let him.
Yeah.
Let him. We can't.
Yeah, why shouldn't I?
We can't control.
Let me check.
Yeah.
Rolling action.
So I'm here helping some guys who've come down for a bit of training, and so I'm sort of like seeing how they're doing in their discussions and trying to help them where I can. And we're walking into this Muslim brother's actually, who was trying to argue that he could quote the Bible because the Quran allows him, but Christians can't quote the Quran because they don't believe in the Quran. So my challenge is, if Muslims are saying that the Quran is the guardian over the Bible, where does the Quran allow Muslims to identify what passages to believe in? Because even if a passage could be argued to agree with something that Muslims believe, it doesn't mean that that passage hasn't been corrupted from an Islamic point of view. How can they identify the uncorrupted from the corrupted? The Quran doesn't allow them to and gives them no means to. And every attempt by a Muslim to find verses in the Quran that correspond to the Bible, when you just analyze those verses, you find that those verses contradict one another and teach different things, and you just need to read them carefully. So that's the point I was trying to make. Okie dokie. God bless. Let me go find the team.